So this is an exciting event. I am so happy to have with me today Derry Green from the Secret Garden Glamping, who has already been on the show. And if you haven't listened to that episode, then I suggest you bookmark that right now for listening to later. And Alice Fry, who is the social media manager at my favourite platform, TouchStay. Thank you so much. Thank you, Alice. We got the idea for this this episode when we met in Orlando at the Verma conference, and so I'm glad. It's really glad it's come together. So thanks. So happy to have you here.
Lovely to be here.
And Derry, it's just always good to see you. You just inspire me so much. Inspired me so much that I'm now looking at glamping opportunities in Ontario. And when you think that Ontario, the temperature goes down to, it can go down to minus 30 centigrade in the winter. It's going to be quite an organizational event if we ever get this off the ground. But thank you for being inspiring.
Oh, you're very welcome. I loved chatting to you last time. I like talking anything glamping, social media, that sort of stuff. So yeah, I'm really excited for this.
Well, today we're not really talking about glamping. We are talking about social media, everything from branding to content creation to where you put it and what you do with it, and most importantly, how you make guests out of the people who see your social media. So let's kick off. Derry, tell me about your social media experience before the Secret Garden Glamping kicked off, before you had that viral experience. What were you doing on social media before that, and how has your view, your take on it changed since then?
So yeah, before I started this, social media to me, I had Facebook, that was it. And it was, as far as I was concerned, social media was saying happy birthday to a friend or posting a picture of the kids. That was my total limited knowledge of social media. Didn't really engage with it much, and that was it. Obviously, when I came to doing this, I quickly realised that social media was absolutely key. I mean, in any business now, for what I was doing specifically, getting my content out to my audience, and then obviously to guests, is vital, especially in my market within glamping, but any kind of vacation rental. It's a crowded market as far as there's lots of different options. So getting your content in front of people is key. So now, I then spent every waking minute, day and night, trying to work out what I was doing wrong, what needed to happen, how it worked. And that was my journey at the start to where we are now. We're the most viewed and most followed glamping site in the UK by a country mile now. We've got 750,000 followers across social media. Last month, our reach was 10.2 million. So it's huge. We've had 500 million views online now on our content. So I quickly realised it was key. And then it's really exciting to me. It's ever changing. Everything with social media, there's always something new coming along, and trying to keep up with that, really focuses me on what I like doing.
And this is all, and I need to put this into context, because this is all in less than 3 years, right?
Yeah. So I started the first one was March of 2020. I actually opened the site in February of 2021. So yeah, sort of 2.5 years, coming up to 3 years of being open as a site now. Yeah.
Well, I think that's that's got to be motivating for anybody who thinks, I'm late to the social media game. No. You can come in late. Alice, what about you? What's your background in social media before you joined TouchStay?
Yeah, before here, I was working at John Lewis. So, I mean, for your worldwide audience, John Lewis is a retailer in the UK. And I was an influencer manager there. So basically meant collaborating with influencers to kind of feed the content on their socials. So that was some nice experience there. Before that, I worked in agency, working with lots of different companies, doing social media. And then before that, I was at WH Smith, another brand. So I've been doing it for 10 years now. It's changed a lot. Like Derry's probably witnessed, particularly in the last couple of years, I think a lot of, we can go onto that, but a lot of stuff with video, it's definitely changed a lot. So lots of mixed stuff, and no touch day for the last year. So yeah, it's great to hear Derry's story. I absolutely love it.
So in the immortal words of Mrs. Merton, if you ever remember Mrs. Merton, anybody remember Mrs. Merton? She was this is going back to probably the 90s, a TV personality.
Love it.
And her thing was, so which was your favourite? When you think of all the places you've been to, which was your favourite? It actually came from, so Mrs. Merton was this spoof character, and she would interview people, and she interviewed a World War II veteran and World War I veteran, and he sat in the front of the audience, and he said, yes, I was in both wars. And she said, so you're in World War One and you're in World War Two. So tell me, which one was your favourite?
Oh, wow.
And that which one was your favourite has always stuck with me. So yeah, Touch Day is clearly your favourite company now.
Of course. Everyone's lovely. You're lovely. Andy's lovely. Okay, yeah. But yeah, it's been a real great experience. I think it's good. It's great because of the community. I think that's the big thing.
Well, this is it. And you've done a ton of stuff with their social media output over the... How long have you been there now?
A year. So yeah, nearly bang on.
And I've seen it changing. And clearly your influence is amazing. So I just want to start off with talking about branding, because Touch Day works so hard on their branding. Secret Garden Glamping is clearly such a recognized brand now. How important is it for owners and managers to create a personal brand? And in fact, I'll start with you, Alice. What exactly is a personal brand?
I would say it's, what is your business? How does it look? How does it feel? What's your tone of voice? What are you trying to, for example, like Derry. I'm Derry. I'm not gonna steal your points here, but when I think of Derry's business, I think really like quite luxe. It's very sort of photogenic. It's very beautiful, and it's kind of that brand. But how is that consistent? Like through your tone of voice, through your pictures, every single thing that your customer, those touch points, they see your brand. And it doesn't have to be like luxe and cool. It can be like family orientated. Well, how can you do that? Can you do that through your tone of voice, through some lovely, pictures of families together, that sort of thing? So I haven't answered that succinctly, but to summarize, I think I'd probably say it's everything. It's everything. It's what you want to kind of evoke as your brand, sort of like what it stands for, I would say. So yeah.
I know when I think of the Secret Garden Glamping, I in my head immediately think of being outside.
Yeah.
So I think of being outside, surrounded by fairy lights, or maybe in a hot tub, and just having that wonderful family experience, or even romantic experience. Mm-hmm. That's what comes to mind when I think of Touch Day. What comes to mind immediately, and I think this is the fabulous branding, is Touch Day rock stars.
Yes.
And you label all your clients rock stars. Mm-hmm. And that branding goes with you everywhere I've been. If I'm speaking at a conference, I get the little, or if I'm at a conference, I get the little tag that goes onto my lanyard that says Touch Day rock star, that says rock star.
That's so true. Yeah.
And so that is...
Yeah, sorry, we're going to change it. So just so you know, Heather, we're going to give out friendship bracelets next time. Anyway, but yeah, sorry, yeah.
Yeah. So what does branding mean to you, Derry?
Yeah, so it's everything we just said about then. To me, it's getting across to your audience, to your customers, what's important to you, and also what's important to them. So whether that be what I do, or whether you, like you were saying, Alice, like whether it be family orientated, whether it be sustainable, accessible, whatever it is, your brand is then distinguishing you from your competition. So, like you say, when people see my logo or my content, they know straight away it's me. They know exactly what they're getting. Every time we build a new unit, this is where you're focusing on with the brand to the site. So we're building a new unit at the minute. It went online for pre-bookings last week. It's sold out in 47 minutes, and nobody's seen a picture of it.
Whoa.
Nobody will see any pictures of that unit, the Wonderland, until it opens on the 19th of June, 19th of January. But we've built up a brand now, so people know, minimum standards, what they're expecting to get, and then we always try and exceed that. So they will book a unit that they don't know what they're getting based on our brand, because they've got trust in it. They know what we're focusing on. They know what sort of units we provide. So that builds confidence with your audience. They know what they're going to get when they come to you. And then you can then exceed expectations as you go forward. So yeah, it's getting across to your audience what's important to you and what's important to them.
47 minutes.
Yeah, 47 minutes, yeah. So that's now, the Wonderland is now currently fully booked until 2025. And nobody's seen a picture of it. All it is a logo. That's it. That's all anybody knows. Nobody knows what the unit is, what's going to be there. It's going to be awesome. It's looking great.
You're rivaling Glastonbury there with your ticket sales.
Honestly, it's ridiculous. We have to take on extra servers every time we do a launch to make sure that we've got enough capacity on the website to have, tens and hundreds of thousands of people all trying to book at the same time.
Well, this all comes down to social media, because this is how you were discovered. Mm-hmm. This is how your very first, and I have told this story, and you come to word of mouth. I've told this story to so many people since we last talked. Yeah. I've probably convoluted it a bit over time. I've probably added a few things. But the tent in the backyard, it was COVID, and you wanted to give your kids something to do, and that's how that somebody picked it up. And
you see, back onto the branding side of things, that's what I'm getting across within my branding is my whole story, my journey, my kind of endeavor. It's making sure people understand that we're not just, a big brand like John Lewis, for example. We at heart, the reason I did it was to provide something for my children, not to make money. And that's still the case now, as we're going forward and things like that. So you can get all these different things across within a brand that people know and recognize, and then fall in love with and engage with and want to be part of.
Yeah, that's
a great segue into storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
Telling your stories. How, and you hear a lot about storytelling at the moment. Everybody's talking about you've got to tell a story. What does that actually mean, telling a story? I mean, Derry, you're telling the story of how you started out, but is that just what it is, or is there more to it than that, Alice?
I think it is. There's lots more to it. I think it's the difference between someone seeing something and going, "Oh, right," and then, but on the flip side, someone seeing it and going, "Oh, I'm connecting with this emotionally." I think there's three ways of sort of doing it. Whether you're like inspiring someone, educating someone, or evoking some sort of emotion in terms of like humor, or making someone sort of laugh cry with happiness, that sort of thing. Painting that story so they feel immersed in it, so they can see themselves in it. I think that's a big difference. You could have like a flat picture of something and be like, here's a room I've got, come and get it, it's half price at the moment. Or you could say, hey, look at this. I had my morning coffee out here. It was such a great experience. It's great to get away. By the way, we have, 50% off this night. I think that's the difference. Kind of making people, it's all about immersing people into that experience. That's how I see it anyway.
Derry, how do you tell stories? Can you give us a couple of examples?
Do you know what? I absolutely agree with Alice. So it's all, for me, it's all about aspirational content. So as you just said then, it's you've got to create that image in their head where they can picture being there. So we do it a lot when we do our content, if you notice. So we have bar areas round by the hot tub and things. So instead, you could just leave it as as a space and that's it. But we actually stock it so it looks like a bar. We have cocktails made on the side. We have the drinks fridge full of drinks and everything else. And what you're trying to do is get the customer to imagine sitting there and drinking a cocktail at night and how they'd feel and enjoying it with the friends and that sort of stuff. So it's creating, that aspirational point. Now, the funny thing is when you come down to it, so we have the bar, fridge and everything set up. So their aspiration is they're going to sit in the hot tub all night, drinking cocktails and reconnect with friends, whatever it is. Now, the reality of that is entirely different. So the reality is we have the bar fridge, and 9 times out of 10, instead of it being full of nice drinks and champagne and everything else, it's got some sausages in there and some bacon and some bread. It's never used like that. But when they were looking at that content and when they were looking at then making a booking, the aspirational part of that was that's what they want to do. Now, it's a really good way to get people to engage with what you're doing, because they see it as well. You're not selling to them overtly. It's genuine content, and that's what it needs. That's where you was kind of alluding to earlier on. There's been a big change the past couple of years with content creation, which took me back a bit, because people now don't want to be sold to. They want to see and make the decisions and the choices themselves. Now, you can point them in the right direction by doing different things like storytelling. We do it quite a lot where you spend a night with us, or have, what would you do with 7 of your friends here tonight, that sort of stuff, and trying to coax them in the right direction. But you don't want to do it overtly. But the days have gone now with social media of openly pushing stuff into their faces, trying to sell to them over and over again. They don't want that experience anymore.
Yeah, I think that's so important. Let's go on to this content thing, but how content has changed. I was years ago, I was just so an avid Twitter user, and I even wrote a course on how to use Twitter and how to engage with journalists and other media folk on Twitter. And I haven't used Twitter for a long time. I'm certainly not using X right now. I know Tyann is still out there using Twitter, but then I think she uses absolutely everything. Tyann Marsink with 28 hours in her day, as opposed to the 24 that we all have. She uses those extra 4 hours so well. But what Alice, how's the whole business of platforms changed? Before we go on to content, what about platforms? Because 10 years ago we didn't have TikTok. We now have X. What happened to the ones that have disappeared?
It's a really great question, actually. And it sort of relates to what Derry and I were saying, in the sense that you can't really just promote the way that you used to. You can't just go, hey, this is yours, I'm telling you to have it, you have it. They've got to really feel immersed and engaged with it. And I think platforms like TikTok, because they're so immersive and they're so fast, and so it kind of immediately tends to lean on that way that we now learn. We want it quickly. We want everything so fast in our lives. We want something tomorrow on Amazon, we can go and get it. And that sort of thing, it's now changed into the way that we kind of digest our media. So I think it's all kind of changed with the way, maybe like MySpace, right? Do you remember that? And platforms like that, where it was kind of maybe just like a one-way dialogue. Now it's like a two-way thing. Like you'll have videos on TikTok where people are like, oh my gosh, this is so much fun, I can jump on this trend. And the same way with the way that Facebook and Instagram sort of work now. It's a bit of a, in terms of target market, it's an older generation that are on Facebook. Don't get me wrong, there's a big mix, but it's a higher percentage. And then on Instagram, it's a bit of a mix. And then on TikTok, mega Gen Z. So it depends who you're targeting. But yeah, I would say the messaging, hugely video, because now people want to see it. They don't want to, they want to feel like they're in there. And if you do use, just photography, not just because it's amazing, but it's got to look slick. And it can't look, it's got to look very, very good for it to sort of fly. And maybe it might not be photography, maybe it'd be something funny like a meme or something, but it's got to really hit the nail on the head, I think, in terms of humor. So I think it's definitely changed in terms of the way we digest our media. That's definitely changed.
Derry, what about what platforms are you strongest on?
So to be fair, we have a strong following across all the platforms. Our biggest is still Facebook. 320, 330,000 followers on Facebook. So it's still our biggest one. TikTok is the elephant in the room. That's the big change that's happened. So, when TikTok came along, we was kind of an early adopter to TikTok. And I found it so strange to use. I was used to creating for Facebook, really, really kind of slick promotional videos that were kind of longer form, and it took you through I loved them. I absolutely loved them. And it took you through a journey. So it started, as you're walking down the path and through the trees and, eventually getting to the unit and then finally revealing the unit. And that, when TikTok came out, that content just bombed. It did not work. TikTok has thrown it the other way around. So you want the end of the video at the start and you reverse it. So you want the big reveal instantly, which I didn't like. I genuinely didn't like it. And it took me a good little while to get my head around how TikTok as a platform worked, how the algorithms worked and what it was doing. Now, I do like it. It's harder to tell stories on TikTok because you've got shorter time to do it and you're doing it in reverse in theory. But with Facebook and Instagram now, TikTok's come along, took a huge share off them, and all they've done to kind of come back against it is copy them. That's the top and bottom. So prime example, last week we had a video on TikTok. It did about 1.2, 1.3 million views. Took that exact same video, put it on Facebook. Facebook was about 2.2 million, Instagram 3.6 million, I think it was. Because TikTok now, I use TikTok as a platform because the brilliant thing with TikTok, to me, it's like a test basically. So I can test as much content as I want on there. There's no limit to it. You can put on 100 videos a day if you want, and every video you put on is judged on its own merit. So if you do a great video, it's shown to millions and millions of people. If you do a terrible video, it's shown to 100 people. Now, flip that around onto Facebook. If I put any content on Facebook, it is shown to a huge audience. A general post I put on Facebook will get an engagement of somewhere between 70,000 and 100,000, regardless what it is. So I can mess with my content on TikTok, see what does well, and I can do that over and over and over and over again. And when I find content that works well on TikTok, I automatically know it's going to work well on Facebook and Instagram because they're copying their algorithm. So TikTok then, once I worked out how to use it, was a kind of a game changer. It meant I could do lots of testing very, very quickly and work out what was doing well. And the content that was going out, because at the time, again, now TikTok has caught up and exceeded our Instagram following now, although that's been going really good recently. But it meant I could test all the content I wanted to on TikTok without having to worry about my reach on Facebook and Instagram getting drawn back because I wasn't producing the content that they wanted to see. So yeah, TikTok is a phenomenal platform, and it's being adopted by everybody now. My nan's on TikTok because one of my grandkids had told her to use it, and it's one of those. It's that great platform, although it's still for a lot of people they have this thing of it's just silly little videos of kids dancing or whatever else it might be. It will work out very, very quickly what you want to see, and it will only show you that. So if you're interested in cars, it will show you every car video ever, and none of the kind of rubbish that you're not interested in. So it will narrow down your audience automatically for you very, very quickly, and it's free. So Facebook and Instagram are geared up around paying now. That's the top and bottom is if you want to get reach, if you want to get audience, if you want to find new people for your bookings, you pay for it. That's it. They're a monetized platform where TikTok's still new, so everything's free. It's great. You can build up a huge audience. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. You know better or worse off. Where with Facebook, if you pay for a post to kind of generate views, you don't know if that post's any good. And Facebook is still going to charge you for it, regardless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
Gosh, that what a great strategy.
Yeah,
I'm one of those new people to TikTok.
Now, just on TikTok, so we're part of what's called TikTok's high value acquisitions team. So we have bi-weekly Zoom calls with TikTok to let us know what they're doing. We find out what music's going viral. We find out what's changing in their ecosystem. Now, with TikTok, what they're trying to do is now they're going to try and monetize the platform. They've been going for a couple of years now. They need to start generating revenue, and they can't do that with short form content. They can't. You can't monetize a 10, 15-second video. They're going to start prioritizing longer form content. And what they want TikTok to be is basically a new Google stroke TripAdvisor platform. So the way they see it is, you will see a product for sale, whether it be a new kettle, a vacation rental, a car, whatever it is. You'll then search for that item on TikTok, and you will find genuine content of what that item's like to use, to stay in, whatever it might be. Because review sites now, for example, TripAdvisor, even Google reviews, people are kind of done with it. They know the people leaving 5-star reviews probably just really like it. The people leaving 1-star reviews are probably just, it's not for them. And you can't really judge your business now based on TripAdvisor, Google reviews. So if they see, before, when I put out content, it would be on a beautiful sunny day with no wind, and everything would be in the perfect place to look good for that video. When a customer makes one, it might be a rainy day in November when the decking's covered in leaves. But if they look at that and the customers that were there are having a great time, regardless of what it looked like, then they know that that's genuine. They know the people who enjoyed it, who were here, had a great time, and they take that as an indicator. Right, we can book because we know this content's genuine. And again, when it comes to content now on TikTok, it's all about making you, even if it is trying to sell something or trying to put your content out there, you're still trying to come across as genuine so that people believe it is. Because again, if you try and sell on TikTok, bad, does not work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What's your take on TikTok, Alice?
So kind of being like, doing it for 10 years, it did scare me at first as well, Derry. So I'm kind of glad you've had so much success in it that it used to scare you. So there's hope for us all. I think it's great because I think you can have a niche and you can go, there's people doing some amazing things out there that they wouldn't necessarily have even had the platform before. For example, I was talking to a guy the other day that, he was at a tourism award, and he has a glamping site, and he also on the side trims horses' hooves. And he was telling me about this guy that does that on TikTok, and people are fascinated in it because there's something they've never learned about before, and it's really unique. It might not necessarily be unique in that field, but it is to someone like me. And it's great. It's so great. And if you, exactly like Derry's saying, if you aren't overly promotional, if you're trying to bring that value, which is, above everything, is what you should be trying to do, give value. But if you'll be able to do that in a really quick, succinct way, then boom, you're able to do it. You see people that kind of put, just the odd video. It is hard, it is, but you can put the odd video out there of something that's, quite interesting, and they can go nuts. And so there's some great opportunities in there, as long as you're not frightened to do it. You just need to do it.
I think people have been saying this for years. Video it's easy. You just get behind your phone. That's it.
That's it.
I think it's becoming more and more comfortable, but I think there's still a lot of people out there that just don't like that idea of being in front of that camera. But of course, you don't have to be. You don't have to be you in front of the camera. That whole business about TikTok got me thinking about Booking.com's sustainability report, and the fact that it's Gen Z, the Gen Z generation, that where 70% of them are looking for more sustainable options when they go traveling, and which is why that people in short-term rentals should be focusing a lot more on their sustainability features. And that just got me thinking about how useful TikTok that would be to do that focus.
Well, you're absolutely correct, because any sustainable stuff that we have, we're doing a lot of battery storage, solar power, wind power. That content absolutely bombs on Facebook. Absolutely bombs. I would love to do more content about it, but I know my audience on Facebook isn't looking for it. And because of that, I can't then show that on Facebook because, the rest of the audience, it doesn't go any further. TikTok, I can do a video today of a wind turbine. Tomorrow I can do a video cutting the grass, and the day after I can do a video of the pods. And you can have that kind of change within it, where Facebook and Instagram, you can't have that change. We've gone down such a narrow focus now, and I've worked out exactly what I need to put on Facebook and Instagram, where TikTok, I can play about with it all the time. The first viral video I had on TikTok, of all things, was me loading 2 pallets of firelighters into my car that I bought from Home Bargains. That's what it went viral. Yeah, my missus just videoed me putting them in the car, and literally the whole boot of the car was just stacked up, and it got like 300,000-400,000 views. And I was like, how the hell? It was like 10 seconds. I was like, how the hell is that interesting? But it is, and you can put that sort of content out there, and it can grab and just go bonkers, and you can go from having 50 followers one day to 50,000 the next, just from one little thing. And it has slightly changed now. When you were saying then about a kind of being in front of the camera or being on video, that is one thing that's changed significantly over the past 6 to 8 months, probably. That sort of content now is doing really, really well on TikTok. So if you're talking about your business, your product, your vacation rental, whatever it might be, again, it's engaging with your audience and coming across as genuine, and people are buying into you. So it's not something that we've done yet, because even though I love doing this, I still feel uncomfortable talking about it on a TikTok video. I've tried it a couple of times, and I don't know why. It's myself. The video is probably great and it would do well. I just don't like it at the minute. So I need to get more comfortable with it, because my story, my journey would play really well on TikTok. It's not something we've had to do yet, but it's something we've noticed that's been changing. So that content really does do well on TikTok, and then flows over to Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah.
I want to talk about actually converting, people are watching these videos. How do you actually convert them, any social media follower, into an actual guest? Because to me it's all very entertaining, and I watch the things all the time, but I do struggle a little to figure out, do you have to have very clear purpose behind every post, or can you just do it randomly and still have people convert?
Do you want to take this?
I'll let you take it. Yeah. We'll do a bit of both. You start, I'll finish.
It is very hard, because the thing with social media is you can't equate it to a booking in general. So because when your content's out there, if I put something out today and 50,000 people see it, I might get no bookings, because they're not looking to book at that time. It's about being in front of them at the right time for when they're booking. But then if you're gaining an audience, so you're creating content that they want to see, they start following you. And once they're following you, I could put out 10, 20, 30 pieces of content, and none of them make them book, because they're not looking to book. It's not that. But at some point, if they're following you and they see your content, when they're, it comes to them and they're like, oh, I could really do with doing something for my daughter's birthday next year. And then your content's there. It's like, oh, okay. So then, it's just feeding it to them all the time. And that can be, once a day, it could be once a month, it can be once a year, whatever it is. Consistency is key. Getting your content out there, clear, over, and people assume it needs to be every day or 10 times a day or anything like that. It doesn't. What you're trying to create is content to engage people, not to sell to them, to get them to follow you and interact with your content. Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok will do the rest. When they're looking, Facebook, again, the algorithms now, they know when somebody's been on Google to search for a holiday. Next time they go on TikTok, I guarantee you they will show your content to them. That's it. You don't have to do the legwork for it anymore. They know, the platforms know who's looking at what, when, and where. So, if I search on my phone now some new work boots, next time I go on TikTok, I guarantee there'll be a TikTok video of a certain brand of work boots showing me it, because they know I'm going to engage with it, and then it follows through from there. So it's not necessarily about targeting specific times a year or specific guests or anything like that. It's just making sure your content's out there, so when they're ready to book, you're there in front of them.
Yeah, perfect. I'll just add a little bit to that because, Derry's nailed it as usual. But I would say also just make sure if you're promoting something on your stories, a little bit trickier with, your grid content, because obviously you can't put a direct link on it, but put those swipe up links, track them, make sure that anything you're doing does have those trackable links. Make sure you've got your bio all sorted out, it's all tracked up and that you can see how people are converting with it. If there's a particular bit on your site that, someone's particularly looking at, say, for example, like with Derry, the upsells, like what can you get when you're actually on site? Make sure that you do a bit of content around that. Actually kind of look at what people are interested in, try and convert them, work backwards slightly. But any point, make sure that you are looking at the analytics and how they're actually, making sure you're sending them to the right place as well. And also things like, this is old school, but it does work. But like things like competitions, even like that's a really old school thing to do years ago, but it still works now. And if you can drive them to a page where they're putting in their details, then maybe you can get from them like their email, their certain demographics about themselves, like details about themselves, like they've got family, where they live, etc., etc. Obviously, of course, doing it within, all above board within your privacy policy, etc. But make sure you've got that, so then you can put them into a newsletter, and then so kind of like getting them and then promoting to them further really helps as well.
Alice, you've hit the nail on the head there, because that's exactly what I do. So
is it?
That's exactly what I do. So at this point, we can't, we're driving people on social media to go to our website, but they can't book. We're fully booked. The earliest available date now is 2025, and that's midweek on any of the units we've got. So you're right, we're converting all these people from social media to the website and can do nothing with them. So we're losing them. So what you just said is exactly right. It might be old school, but I love it. So on TikTok, you're allowed one link on there on the top of your bio. You click on that link, it will take you to a competition page on my website. And once a month, we do a competition. So we've generated the lead, got them to the website. We then get them to fill in the details. They're in for a chance to win, a night down here. We've then captured their details for when we do have availability, when we're doing more things, when we're opening more sites, more units. That's exactly how I do it. And that's what I do on TikTok, because we can't generate, we're not putting any offers out, we're not putting any new dates out, that sort of stuff. So we're literally doing a data capture to try and get that that information from them, so we know where they are and who they are.
Amazing.
Great stuff. You've talked about analytics and measurement, and to me it's sort of, I'm a strategy person, and analytics is sort of down in the depths, in the weeds, and but it's so important. Do you have to be a social media manager, or be really geared up to all these different platforms to know how to do the measurement? For somebody who's just ordinarily out there wanting to do a couple of TikTok videos and get going on their social media strategy, how important is that analytics and following what happens to those posts? Alice.
Yeah, I was going to go straight in there. It's so important, and even if I ever take a moment where I haven't looked at something, you're suddenly like, I don't really know how that did. It's just out there in the open, and you're not really sure. So it's so important, because otherwise you might spend a load of time doing something, and it might completely bomb. So you need to learn from it, and you need to see what's working and what's not, and also you just need to see what's resonating, basically. And you can do it at any kind of level of your social media experience. You can go on your insights on Instagram, very easy, and just have a little look. When you've got the professional dashboard, you can have a little look and see how each post has performed. Also, there are lots of different, like Hootsuite, Later, all those sort of things. Other places are available, but like you can use all them, and you can have a free trial, and There's a big community out there on their sites themselves, answering questions, anything like that. And it's pretty easy to just plug in and go. And particularly with Facebook as well, you can have a little look in the back end there and just see what's performing and what's not. So I would say yes, very, very important, because you don't want to just keep putting content out there into a black hole and not really knowing what's happening and if it's working. And you can do it at any level. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's clearly important to you, Derry, and you do it. You follow everything.
Yeah, well, as Alice just said, then Meta give you all the tools you need to do it. They literally pin it out for you in a it's kind of like a game. It's like getting different levels, and you kind of because again they're doing the same thing. They're trying to engage with you, so you use their platform. They're doing the same principles as what we're doing. So Meta will give you all the tools to see every bit of data, who's there, what they're doing, why they're doing it, what posts are doing well. You can do, we do benchmarking. So you can benchmark yourself against other businesses that and see how well you're doing against them, what content they're doing. That's always a good place to start. If you just come into it and you have no idea what to create, look at what others are doing. Look at what other posts, what people are doing, which is doing well, and create content based around that. I do the same thing with my own content. So I put out 10, 15, 20 videos, and I see which one of them does well, and then I hone in on that one and do 10 or 15 more that are similar to that to try and work out these analytics, because they'll never tell you what the analytics are. They're changing constantly, and how it works. TikTok specifically is a mind-blowing one, because it doesn't seem to have any rhyme or reason to it at times, where Facebook and Instagram, you can see patterns through it to see why stuff does well. But yeah, they give you all the data. So if you're just starting out, benchmark a couple of other sites, whether that be locally to you or bigger people within the market, see what they're doing, and start there. If you want ideas, just start there, see what's doing well, and again, if they're performing quite well with them, it's a good place to start rather than starting off on your own.
You mentioned you talked about a video that's of you loading up all these fire starters in the back of your car.
Yeah.
Right. Can you give me some other examples of videos that have done really, really well? Because you just said, I looked at 10 to 15 videos, and I'm thinking, well, what's in these 10 to 15 videos? What are you actually out there filming?
So our content is literally just the units of cells. So they always pretty much start off on the same script now, especially because of TikTok. So they'll start off with whether it be opening a gate, opening a door, opening a hot tub lid, something that draws you in. It's all about that first 3 seconds, which is the hook. It's not really 3 seconds, to be fair. It's more like 1.5 seconds. So getting that first little thing, what's behind that door? What's around that corner, whatever it might be. And then what we're testing is we're doing it on a micro scale now. So we'll do 10 videos, which you would pretty much think of the same video. It might be a different soundtrack. It might be a different speed. It might be a different color font, even down to stuff like that, where the text appears, where it goes to, whether it's relating to what we're doing on the site or whether it's relating to what we're doing on the unit. So we're honing down kind of micro details, which you don't really need to worry about at the start. We're just working out, for example, the one last week, that was content of our treehouse. So it started off walking up because you go up steps where the slide is, and then you go across a bridge into the unit. And we was trying to work out how much of that journey we could extend, because like I say, it is constantly changing. Before, that would have been a whole 30-second intro going up the stairs and exploring before you go into the unit. And we're trying to, because the reveal is opening the gate to the unit after you go across the bridge and seeing all the lights and everything else. So we're trying to see how far we can extend that to tell more of a story. And it's hard, because if you go too far, it gets nothing. And if it's too little, it's getting nothing. So it's playing about with that. But that's what the content we're creating is all around the units at the moment, and different things that you can do in the units, whether that be specific ones about the hot tubs or the pool tables or the saunas or whatever it might be within that part of the video. But that's the content that we're creating at the moment.
I think that's great, because I think a lot of people think, when they're trying to think of their content, they're thinking, or they're going too deep into their thinking.
Yeah. With
When it
vacation
can- when it-
rentals, it's pretty easy. What the people want to see where they're staying, and they want to see that quickly. Whether that be if it's a house, it's opening the front door and showing them in a space, or it could be showing them the outdoor space. Whatever it is, you can do it really well with holiday rentals, that sort of stuff, because that's what they want. They want the big reveal. They want to know what's behind there. As soon as you've hooked them for that first 1.5 seconds to 3 seconds, that's TikTok and Facebook and Instagram's kind of cue that somebody's interested in that content, because you'll see it dip off. If we do a 30-second video, by second 29, the audience is down to 1%, 2%, 3%, that sort of stuff. But it doesn't really matter, because at the start it was really, really engaging, and that then gives TikTok and Facebook and Instagram the kind of key to go, right, let's show it to more people. And that's what you're trying to do. The job all the time is, from my point of view, I always see social media as, I have three customers, really. We've got 750,000 on social media, but really I've only got 3. I've got Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. All I'm trying to do is impress them enough that they'll show my content to millions of other people. If I sit and try and target 750,000 people every day, I'd have no chance in a million years to be able to do that. Where actually, if I just target one, which is Facebook, for example, they'll show it to their 100 million customers. So it's way easier to think that way. So you're trying to create something that Facebook thinks is good. So it's and their benchmark is, well, if it's engaging for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds, it's good. And that it doesn't. They don't care what the content is. It can be me loading firelighters in the back of my car, or it can be a stunning view over the fields in a morning with the sunrise. And Facebook do not care. All they care about is whether that hooked people long enough, and then they will show it to everybody in the world.
Yeah.
Wow. This is such a great conversation, and I can't believe we've got to 45 minutes already. And I do have one more question, that because Alice, you worked with influencers, and I know this is a question that comes up with so many people, because a lot of owners and managers get consistent inquiries from influencers.
You have to put that in brackets.
Yeah, I was going to do that, and that was the air quotes.
Yeah.
How does it, in a nutshell, Alice?
Okay.
How does this whole, if you can make this really in a nutshell?
I will try.
How does this whole thing with influencers work, or does it at all? Is it necessary?
I think it does work. I think you need to just make sure that the influencers you're working with are aligned with your brand, and that they, are going to provide your audience with value. If it's not just you're doing it to tick some boxes, they actually really resonate with your brand. They genuinely really enjoy it, and so the content they make, people will enjoy watching it. And I think, I wouldn't worry too much about them having millions of followers, as long as they're getting some really decent engagement. That's what you've got to look at. I think in recent years, I've always tried to look a lot at micro-influencers. That's a hugely popular thing to do. But even as much as going into nano-influencers, if they're producing some really decent, if you're using that on your own channel, by the way, but if they're producing some really decent content, you can really get great value out of it. If you want to leverage their following, of course, you want them to have a decent enough following that it's going to drive the reach. So you have that, but you have to be really careful that A, do they align with your brand? And B, are they going to create the content that's going to bring your audience and their audience genuine value? And is it authentic? Does it fit? And I've definitely had some really great experience where conversions have been pushed sky high. But you need to watch that everything just sort of aligns, I think. And I'm sure, Derry, you get inundated with requests.
Yeah, we do. We get, like any business now, from somebody who's got 500 followers to somebody who's got 50 million followers, and we judge each one on its own merit, sort of thing. But with the influencer side of stuff, exactly like Alice said, make sure it aligns with your audience and what they're creating. Look at what content they've created in the past for other places. Does that work for you guys? But coming back to when you were saying a lot of people aren't comfortable creating content, making videos, that sort of stuff. Influencers will do it for you. You can look at it. If you've got an empty night in a unit that was going to do nothing, give it to an influencer on the basis they create you a video, and you can use that video on your own social media platforms. So instead of paying a videographer to come in and charge you £300, £400, £500, £600, whatever it might be, to create some content for you, you can use an influencer when a night's going to be empty anyway. So in theory, it's cost you the changeover costs, but they're going to create content. What you'll find is a lot of influencers, especially micro influencers and nano influencers, they'll create loads of videos for you. They'll create hundreds of videos for you. If you do a deal with it, and say, listen, you can have next Wednesday, we've got nobody in there. Obviously, don't give away your prime weekends, summer holidays, that sort of, those sorts of dates. But if you've got a date in June that nobody's going to take, and you can get some content for your own social media, I see it as part of my marketing budget. So we can get content. Although, again, we do create all our own here, but certain celebrities and certain bigger influencers look good in our content as well. So that works for us. But down on a smaller scale, you can get content for your own social media, in theory, for free, as long as you wasn't going to use the night anyway.
Yeah.
That I think this is inspiring me to perhaps do a completely separate episode on influencer marketing, because we really have come to the end of our time, and it's just gone so fast, and you have both been so generous with your tips and your recommendations and your suggestions that I'm sure people are going to find this super useful. Derry, this is your second time on the podcast. It is not going to be the last. we will revisit this, and you're so generous to say, yes, I'll come back again.
I love it. I could sit here and talk about this for the next 6-7 hours. You need to do like a long form one where we're here just having chat all day long. Because it's a subject I love. It really is. And, any way that I can help other people to do what we've done, I genuinely see it as, it's like the old saying, a rising tide raises all ships. If we're all creating good content, then, you look at, in the UK, we've got the Travelodge. I've done a whole thing on an advert on glamping. And do you know what? The advert is great. It makes me laugh. But it's basically they're losing market share to us. So if I can get other glamping sites to all create great content, it's going to overtake theirs. So I may as well help everybody do it. And then with, teaming up with somebody like Alice from Touchday, Touchday is an amazing platform to get, your guests engaged in what you're doing. Because it doesn't have to just be social media. It all blends into one. Your social media, your website, your welcome guides. It all works together. It's really good.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you mentioned Touchday.
Yeah,
me too.
Yeah, you didn't need
to talk about Touchday.
I didn't do it, which is hilarious.
Well, you know what an advocate of Touchday I am. My company, Think Rental Management, is still using Touchday and probably still will for the foreseeable future. And so it's always a favourite of mine. And the team at Touchday is the best.
You're an influencer, Heather. You're an influencer.
I'm an influencer for Touchday.
I totally agree. Thank you both. Is phenomenal. It has honestly been a game changer for me. Our guest engagement rate and our feedback from it has been phenomenal. It gives us another point of call where we can put content on for people to engage with. And they do. They sit there and read every single thing on there. They know more about this site than I do.
Oh, brilliant. Derry, we're going to clip that up.
For those of you listening, the information on Touchday will be on the show notes, as will the link to the Secret Garden Glamping. And I'm going to pull out all your social media links as well, Derry, so people can go in and take a look and see what you're doing. Yeah. Thank you both. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you with me.
No worries.